So I'm mapping out the beam pattern, which is going to be a cross section right now on the floor. It's the easiest place to find my spacing, and then I'll just transfer it up to the ceiling. I can take my measurements. I know my baseboard's 3/4 of an inch, so I can compensate for that, and then I can start marking the ceiling. But it's a lot easier to do this on the floor than up on a ladder. There, looks like every 6 feet. Now we'll transfer it up. We'll start marking the ceiling. So I'm using a simple laser line. They're not very expensive. This way, if I get 2 marks that I'm happy with, then I can run clear through all the beams. I can use a chalk line to do this, but this makes it a lot faster when you're running through beams, and I want everything to look like it's continuous. So I use the tape to make up for the thickness of the edge of the beam. So the sleeper is going to run right along that laser line. And I'm just going to do it in segments. I'll do a couple of pieces where I have floor joists above, and that should be plenty. These beams are really lightweight. They're easy to put in. So I just need I need a little bit of purchase. I need to make sure that those sleepers are in tight, and then that'll be plenty to hold the beam up. Yeah, I'm using 8-inch pieces on this. If it were oak, I might try to span 2 of the joists in one blocking. So I might do, depending on the floor joists, 24-inch pieces. But for the cedar and the spruce, an 8-inch block, if you're getting a screw somewhere in the center of that, is plenty large. So let me show you what a piece of this blocking looks like. It's an 8-inch piece. The width of the blocking is cut to match the inside of the beam. So it's meant to fit right inside here. I gave it about 1/8 of an inch play so that I can easily put this up over it and then just tack it in from the sides. So when this is held in, I'll have 2 screws going through here into the floor joist, and then I'm going to put 2 15-gauge nails in through the sides here and here, and just the shear strength on that is more than enough to hold the beam up. So I'm going to pre-drill these. So I'm going to oversize this hole a little bit. I want this screw to slide right through. That'll tell me whether or not I'm into the stud when I put these screws into the ceiling. I'm running these a little closer to the end. These are the ones that'll be up against the wall. I know we have studs or framing against the walls on both sides, so I just want these to get right into that corner. Perfect. So I'm just following that line. There we go. I know that's in. That's solid there. Getting close to that beam. That's why we offset a couple of these holes. Perfect. Okay. This is a little longer section of beam. I'll put 3 blocks in here, and then 2 on this end. So I'm going to get the length of these beams. I'm also going to get the angle. A lot of times in the sheetrock process, the wall will kind of come up at an angle like this where the mud gets into the corner. So a lot of times it's going to be a little more than 90 degrees. So I'm just going to check it before we make the cuts. Usually I like to cut the beams one time and then bring them up, install them, and not be up and down the ladder trying to scribe. Just a simple adjustable angle finder. Got 91 degrees, not bad. Over here, we have 92 degrees. So this beam side is a little bit flared, but that tells me what to cut. So this is Northwest spruce. The finish is saddle, and it's non-distressed, so it's standard texture. So I've marked the end of this beam at 92 degrees. A little bit, a 1/16 of an inch off on a cut on a beam is never noticed once it's up high. And again, it's meant to look like a solid timber. Solid timbers aren't tight. Trim is tight, timbers are not. So I'll set my blade just past the thickness. I don't want to cut too deep. You can use a handsaw for this. I use this saw. I like to use a torch. This is a simple soldering torch. You can get them at any hardware store. Just like to touch up this edge a little bit. Any little splinters you can just touch up. I just use a pencil. So my measurement is across the ceiling. So I'm going to measure up against the ceiling 57 1/8. That's 92 degrees. This one was 91 degrees. So I'm just gonna put a little piece of tape on either side of these sleepers here. This one, I know we've got 8 inches, 4 inches off each side. That I know is coming off the wall. So I mark this end for that side. And if I cut this right and measured right, it should be really simple. One time up the ladder for fitting, and there it is. How cool is that? It looks so good. And then I'll just put a nail in. There it is. Really simple. And the sheetrock is clean. There's no touch up. That saves a lot of money in construction. And the painters and the drywallers can all get in here, do what they have to do, leave, and then beams go in. There we go. Okay. She is. Once you get in the groove, it's usually cut, bring it in, put it up, it's done. Every once in a while you have to scribe or clean it up. For the most part, it moves pretty quick. Yeah, that's cool. So the intersections just look right. It looks structural. It looks like it's holding up the roof. It's a really simple thing, but those look like solid timbers. They're real wood. Everything has the variation it should. It's pretty cool. So we finished the beam install. We did the same thing for the last 3 beams that we did for the first. It's just a systematically installing, cutting to fit, putting them up. And again, it's over finished sheetrock, so the paint is done prior to us installing the beams, and if we're careful, there isn't even paint touch-up at this point. So it's really just a fun project, only requires a few tools. Again, that's HewnElements.com. Check it out, give us a call, let us help you with your project.